really irritated me in 8th grade because all my friends were like starting to do it. It seemed like it was becoming like a trend, I guess.
In fact, I had a friend today come up to me. She was like, "I'm going sober," and I was like, "Nicotine?" She said, "No." And it kind of, I don't know, it bothered me because it's like she didn't consider nicotine as something that she needs to go sober from.
I am a freelance writer and journalist. Cannabis is one of the areas that I've been specializing in, and as you probably know, the vaping ban relates to a lot of products containing THC, as well as nicotine and different types of e-cigarette flavors. But recently, the link has been to products that contain THC. The lack of regulation is, at least to some degree, to blame for a lot of this. And let me tell you why.
Our mission at Juul Labs is to improve the lives of the world's 1 billion smokers and eliminate cigarettes. While working towards our mission, an unintended, serious problem has developed: underage usage of our product. Our intent was never to have youth use Juul, but they are. As the industry leader, we must lead the category in decreasing underage use. Today, we announced an action plan to do just that. For us to successfully fulfill our mission of helping adult smokers, we must be trusted, and we must earn that trust. That starts with action, not words.
You know, a lot of people are painting Juul as the big, like an updated version of Big Tobacco. They're evil, they just want the sales. To me, I think it's a little bit more nuanced than that. Definitely, you hear about some of the stuff with them visiting high schools and doing all that stuff, and I think that's definitely a little questionable, and they've done some other questionable stuff. I was just reading about a new article about them like not reporting fully some dangerous ingredients in their products. So they've definitely done some questionable stuff. I will say that, and you can debate how much credit they deserve for this. I will say that, since the ban and since the pushback and, all the negative public opinion, they seem to have done a good job of like responding right away, kind of getting on top of it. Like they mentioned that they voluntarily stopped selling all flavored vapes, not just in the places where, they had the bans in place. Juul totally stopped all sale of their flavored vapes everywhere. They definitely have a questionable reputation, and they've done some questionable things, and they should be, held accountable for those as well. But I would also say on the other side of the coin, I don't think we want to be too quick to kind of nail them to the cross, so to speak, to use a rough analogy.
I teach middle school, and believe it or not, we do have to deal with confiscating the Juuls quite a bit. It's really weird. The kids think it's cool, their peers, their idols are using them, so naturally they think it's, it's just something they have the entitlement to do, versus they don't think about long haul what it could do to them, especially being so young and impressionable.
And does health class sort of, and is your school private school?
No, it's a public school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And do you sort of go over the effects of vaping maybe in school?
No. I wouldn't say that anybody in our health department does.
Okay.
I only oversee the health courses,
Okay.
but I've never even seen them talk about tobacco products.
Okay.
Of course, sex ed is the first thing they think about, which is great, but they don't think about stuff like that.
So one of the key things that you mentioned in your article with dope was vitamin E acetate.
Yep.
Would you be able to elaborate on that ingredient?
Sure. So again, I'm a journalist, not a scientist. My understanding of it is vitamin E acetate is a compound that is used in a lot of different beauty and skincare products. The acetate form is specifically designed as a kind of an additive in a cartridge. So that is used, mixed in with cannabis distillate as a way to sort of thin out the product, and that way, the manufacturer can make more cartridges out of the same amount of oil. So that has been tested as approved and safe for human consumption, but the doctor that I spoke with pointed out that the testing and the approval has only been in topical as well as digestion. So in other words, they haven't actually cleared it specifically for inhalation as it's used in these cartridges.
How would you regulate vape if it was up to you?
Regulate it?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had that question asked to me. Well, I definitely believe in restorative justice practices, and that comes with all disciplinary measures that are taken upon a student. So I believe that if we were to enforce a strict no vaping policy, that wouldn't result in suspension, that would result in students or teachers or the staff or admin talking to the student and sort of giving them an understanding on health implications. So I think that restorative practices works in this form, and understanding that it's not there are significant implications to doing an action like that, and it shouldn't result in suspension or expulsion, but it should result in you understanding why your actions were made and why they're not good.
The CDC has said that the only real way to make sure that you're 100% safe is to not vape. I think if you're somebody that is cautious and logical and a user of vapes, of course you're gonna reconsider in light of the news. But I think what I did, and the thing that I would advise anybody to do if they're concerned about it, is just do the research, look up the studies, look up the statements, look up the official communications from authorities, and go beyond that and spend some time looking into it, and then kind of make your own decision and go from there. I think that's the best we can do when it comes to an area where there's such incomplete information. The question of, is vaping safer than smoking? Honestly, I don't know if it's possible to make a definitive statement on that. And from my research, I wouldn't feel comfortable giving a definitive opinion. Like you said, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a, I've talked to doctors, I've talked to researchers about it, and I mean, even they've said basically the same thing. Nobody's really sure. So if, the guys running the clinics at Johns Hopkins are way smarter than me, so if they say that they don't know, then I'm not gonna sit here and go against that, So I think, again, it also just goes back to the same thing of try and see what happens and see how you respond, and go from there.